Hey, I left my reading glasses at home, so I thought I'd try these. Turns out, they really don't work. They just make the words get thinner. But while all of you were hiding at home wearing your face diapers last year, Von Goebel was writing this book on American exceptionalism and its decline. So if you want to know where we're heading, get yourself a copy of this. It's basically the Nostradamus of doom. Best year ever, thought and in action through a long 2020. Available in hardcover for only $13. That's like a fifth of a tank of gas. Winning? Oh no. What's up, you beta bucks and you dildos? See what I just did there? Terrence Popp here, Redonkulous.com. Bad Popp showed up today because I got bad news for the dudes out there. Wah. Apparently, in current year, most men are not husband material. Good. Here's a thought. Along with 5 words and a comma. So what, comma? I don't care. Did you know only 6.5 people out of 1,000 are getting married today? That's 6.5 too many. Now, I'm not even going to talk about that poor son of a bitch who didn't make it out the back door and they sawed him in half for that stat. May God have mercy on his soul and whatever unmarked grave he happens to be in. And guess what, ladies? It's all your fault. Because feminism created this entire catastrophe. See what I did there? And now, true to form, the feminists out there are whining about a problem they created.
My opinion, most men aren't husband material.
I'm gonna ask you a simple question, and it's only got 2 words. Who cares? But I can't just leave it there. I got a whole menagerie to get through. And if you've been keeping score, so do you. Pour yourself a menagerie because we are diving into this cesspool of insanity together. Yeah. Before we begin, a big shout out to the individual who sent us this article, Jack Bobby. Name redacted for anonymity reasons, of course. But before we dive in, let's cover that headline one more time. In current year, is there any dude out there who actually cares that they're not husband material? When a woman calls you husband material, this is exactly what she means.
You will be a great beta provider once I'm done having more sausages thrown at my holes than a trash can at the ballpark.
With that being said, I think it's time for one of your favorite cutaways. How fitting for something that clearly doesn't fit, if you know what I mean. Bottom line, when a woman looks you in the face and goes, "You're husband material," there's only a few things worse that could be said. Number 1, she looks you in the face and goes, "You know what? You remind me of my brother." Done. Or she's playing the skin flute and all of a sudden she looks up and says, "You taste like Dad." Oh, God. I hope you gave her a fake name, gentlemen, because that's clearly crazy slot-C, and we know how much fun that is.
Most women I know do actually want a husband or a boyfriend, but finding that is easier said than done. After all, it's hard to have a great relationship when the vast majority of men aren't worth a damn.
What is more likely? A majority of the men out there aren't worth a damn, or you are so entitled, shallow, and picky that you automatically disqualify almost all of them. Well, the stats on OkCupid paint that picture beautifully. Isn't that gorgeous? Bob Ross couldn't have done a better job. Oh, Space Ghost just came on.
If you're about to scoff at this, consider the writing on the wall.
I did look at that writing on the wall while I was dropping a deuce, and it said for a good time I should call you.
Number 1, the fact that having a side chick is so widespread is a major problem.
If having side chicks is such a problem, doesn't it take 2 to tango? Isn't it more logical that strong, independent women are choosing to share high-value men? After all, they're talking about maybe 15% of the dudes out there, and we're just talking about height. And that 15% of dudes, they're the prime real estate that 100% of the women out there want to squat on. And no, I'm not talking about how you write your name in the snow, because let's face it, you can't. But all of that shit I just talked about, completely irrelevant, and I'm gonna explain why. Millennial women are cheating more than men, and they're proud of it. Links in the description. Once again, we have a classic case of rules for thee, but none for me.
Our generation simply has a massive gap when it comes to infidelity. Guys see having 2 girls like a status symbol. On the other hand, if girls do it, we're promiscuous.
Are we still talking about the difference between sloots and stoods? Really? It's the difference between building your own house from the ground up and walking into a house someone else built for you. A woman who has 3 or 4 boyfriends only needs to say one thing. Yes. But a dude with a girlfriend and a couple of side chicks, he had to work for that. And I will bet you dollars to donuts that the next statement is true.
Hold on to your butts.
All of these chicks probably know about each other, or they have a gut feeling that it's going on. They choose to ignore it because getting the hose from a top-tier dude is worth it. Because being this dude's side chick is way more attractive than being this person's one and only. Because that dude's only valuable when you hit 35 and you need his money to stay alive.
How dare you?
Don't get mad at me, honeys. You wanted your equality and bedroom freedom. This is what that looks like.
The truth is that men who would have a side chick deserve no chick at all.
Tell that to the whole generation of sugar babies out there who are throwing the poon out there for cash, and then we'll talk. And no fucks are given by these ladies. They don't care if he's married, single, has a girlfriend. Doesn't even come into play. All they really care about is the money and all of the trappings they can get with said money. It's either that or selling all of your used prophylactics to buy a one-way ticket to box wine and Catland.
Stop. Number 2, guys have gotten increasingly demanding with looks.
Really? Really now, come on. Anyone with a brainstem and a pulse knows which sex is more shallow. You don't see men disqualifying 85% of the women out there based on height. We don't care how much money you make. Hell, you don't even need to have a job. We don't even care how tall you are. In fact, if you're short enough, that gives us a whole range of new ideas, if you know what I mean. Here's a thought. If you think men are that shallow, go to OranPay Hub and just look at all the different categories. It is quite disgusting. This proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that most men are not shallow. You take a top-tier chick, put her with a fatty McFatty, unless he's got an assload of cash, nothing is going to happen. But almost every single top-tier dude you have ever met has thrown the bone to a fatty. And why? Because we're dudes and cool points, they go a long way, especially if you stack a lasagna on that at the end.
It's all too common to hear guys bemoan how they can't get a hot girl while they themselves bring little in terms of looks to the table.
Let's go back to the same chart from OkCupid, shall we? When you have all the women out there rating 80% of the men as unattractive, there's your problem. Your point has become so invalid, it is now invalid. It's in a vegetative state. There is no brain activity, and I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to pull the plug on that one. Now, am I gonna say there are no dudes out there like this? Of course not. The internet is full of whiny, crybaby, sub-man simps who spend their life savings on OnlyFans bitches. In fact, some of them are so psycho about it, when confronted, they wiped out their entire family. But that is the exception, not the rule.
The fact that men who often look like troll dolls with pot bellies will demand to have a solid dime is hypocrisy at its finest.
When you write a whole article about your own delusional standards, and then you condemn men for having the same standards, I gotta ask, who actually is the hypocrite here? Bottom line, if a dude wrote the same article about chicks, he'd be called a sexist pig. And you would have a point because after all, we're equal, right?
They should learn to be more open-minded about looks.
You first, Screen 5.
After all, most girls I've met will give a not-so-hot guy a shot if his personality is good.
Bullshit! You'll give that nice guy a shot if his wallet weighs enough. Oceana, you can lie to yourself all you want, honey, but if you think you can lie to the popster, you got another thing coming, and I hope you brought a hanky for your face, because you ain't getting one from me.
Number 3, sponsored, the best dating and relationships advice on the web.
Every single Bolde article has this, so come on, get over it. The day I go to Western Whammon for dating advice is the day I wake up with a tag on my toe in a cold refrigerator. Oh, I'm sorry, that was just too mean of me. Well, so what, comma, I don't care, wait. But we can't let these whores be the only ones plugging their shit. Go to redonkulous.com/donate and do it now. Because sooner or later, it's gonna be the only way you're gonna be able to see this shit.
Number 4, statistically, women are more likely to be employed than men.
And you're still whining about this wage gap bullshit? Really? That is the best thing about Western women, gentlemen. You keep them talking, and they tell on themselves. They think because it's on a different subject matter, we won't pick up on it? Please.
This means that some guys can't even put food on the table.
And those guys will be divorced.
Traditionally, that's their job.
Am I really getting a lecture from a feminist on traditional sex roles? Really? Do go on!
While that could suggest more stay-at-home dads, statistics show that women still will also end up doing most of the work around the house, too.
Well, those same stats will teach you this. If a man does housework, he's more likely to get divorced. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and it sucked. Let's be honest, working women are a large percentage of the marriage problem in the first place. And why? Because women, they just love to trade up. And they were brainwashed into thinking acting like a man somehow is gonna make that happen. But what you're really doing is whittling your options down to almost nothing. You have the top tier dudes who have all the money, all the power, and the options that go along with those. And competing for those guys' attention is every woman ever, as far as the eye can see. With that being said, a dude with all those options, do you really think he's gonna pick the poisonous tree frog?
So why would anyone marry someone who's basically unable or unwilling to contribute anything?
This question is the equivalent of shitting the bed, flossing your ass with the sheets, leaving, and not even locking the door. She just pulled a Joe Biden and got killed by her own friendly fire.
If he's not working and not homemaking, he's not worth it.
Because it doesn't matter what he does. If it doesn't have a dollar sign, it's never going to be good enough for you. And if you don't believe me, 80% of divorces are filed by, you guessed it, women. Links in the description.
Number 5, rudeness is at an unprecedented level.
Because you took Chivalry out behind the woodshed and beat it to death with a baseball bat full of gutter nails. And all of that was done in the name of progress. How's that working out for you? Huh?
It's true, and if you don't believe it, just go on OkCupid and talk to some men. Generally speaking, men who are fine with being rude to women before a date even starts aren't worth dating, marrying, or even speaking to.
But you'll bang the shit out of those guys, right? Screen 5. How do I know that? I used to be one of those guys, and it worked. Bottom line, if you don't like this behavior, stop rewarding it with free poon. And then whine about it on the internet because it did work on you. Here's a thought, dudes, and you're gonna have to write this one down in your brain pan. If you wanna know what got a woman into bed in her 20s, listen to everything she complains about in her 30s.
Number 6, our generation is plagued with the way that we're always looking to trade up.
This is not a generation thing. It's a woman thing. Sorry. No, not sorry. But back in the day, when you understood your value a little, you could throw your weight around. Nowadays, you're driving a car with a salvage title back to the dealer, and it has 200,000 miles on it. It's been trash compacted at both ends many times, and it's dripping fluid from the front and the tailpipe, if you know what I mean. There's mystery stains on the seats. Oh, and let's not forget all of the junk in the trunk. And despite all of that damaged good craziness, you still want full sticker price. Not going to happen.
We trade up jobs all the time. We trade up our iPhones, our furniture, and at times even our friends. Sadly, our generation also tends to take this attitude with significant others.
But we used to have checks and balances for that behavior of trading up. For example, you want to get a divorce? You better have good grounds to do it. Something better than, I'm not happy. When you remove responsibility from that equation, you don't have a problem. That's where you get no-fault divorce, second and third wave feminism. And now these ladies pass it out like free samples at the BJ Club, which, in my opinion, was poorly named. If you walk into that place expecting truth in advertising, you got another thing coming, and it's not you. I walked in there expecting what was advertised on the sign, and I got walked out by security. Who knew? I went in there to take a piss, and I wondered, where are all the holes in the stalls? Oh, that's right. You're not getting that here. Though I will say that's not the type of free sample you want to get, because odds are you're going to get a toothless goat and wind up with a dick worm. And then you'll have to take medication that we can't talk about here on YouTube. You know, horse dewormer.
While this isn't always a common sentiment, it happens frequently enough that certain guys just don't realize what they had until they are old, alone, and traded out.
The psychological projection. Strong with you it is.
I'm sorry, honey, but blame and shame this week only works on mental midgets, kind of like you. With that being said, I'm driving right to Arby's for an O-beef and cheddar, if you know what I mean.
Number 7, too many men out there have a major Peter Pan complex.
What the hell did you just say?
Too many guys out there expect their parents to take care of them.
Bullshit!
When they're out of the house, then they expect their girlfriends to take care of them.
No, we expect you to be a partner in a relationship. And if I'm working 60 hours a week and you're working 40, guess who's cooking and dusting?
Unless you have a serious Florence Nightingale syndrome at work, it's pretty obvious why these guys aren't good boyfriend material.
But guess who's still getting bent over the dumbcumster? The average dude does not have a Peter Pan complex, period. You know that saying, life begins at 30? Well, it's true, for men. That is the age most men go, you know what? I have value. And that does something for men that feminism has always failed to do for women. It empowers us truly and completely. We realize we're the prize, and you have to dance to our tune. And if you don't like that, take it on the heels and hit the bricks. I'll see you later. The game is fun when all you really gotta do to win is show up and suckers are lining up around the block. But sooner or later, that game gets old and no one's showing up to play anymore. That doesn't mean there are no viable players, but you don't care about them and they don't care about you.
Number 8, the nice guy complex is strong with too many guys out there.
We've all seen these conversations people screen cap on their Tinders. Are these guys douchebags? Yeah, but righteous anger is kind of like ass whippings. They don't just fall from the sky for nothing.
They're so nice until you say no. Then they shriek in anger, call you a friend-zoning biatcha, and can't get why you won't give nice guys like them a chance. Next.
These men were created by countless pointless rejections, all of which came from crybaby narcissists like you. And why? Well, I'm young, I look good, and I can afford to be picky. But only a small percentage can get 15 years out of that. Tops. Less than 10 years from now, that power dynamic that you enjoy, it's going to flip. It's all fun and games while you're at the steering wheel of the boat. But at 35, the rudder comes off and all you do is drive in a circle. I hope you like this view. Because you're going to see it over and over and over again between 40 and 80.
Number 9, they're insecure.
Everyone is insecure, especially Western women. And if you want to get beyond it, you can. But you will have to accept responsibility for that first. I know how much you hate that.
For all the stuff so many men demand, millennial men tend to be exceptionally insecure.
And I'm sure that has nothing to do with them being raised in fatherless homes.
This just tends to open up an entire can of worms.
And I'm sure you're gonna suck on each and every one of them. Screen 5. Some of them 2 at a time.
Ranging from slut shaming to passive-aggressive behavior.
Gee, I wonder where men picked that one up. Because women are experts at the former and the latter.
Do women need this in their lives? Absolutely not.
But if you don't have it, you create it. Or you watch it on TV. That's right, ladies. You love your drama. And I'm gonna say this flat out. There is no such thing as slutstitute shaming. You have taken your value and pissed it away. Me pointing it out is not shaming. It's simply the truth. You can't be shamed if you don't feel, shame. Constructive criticism only sticks when there's a kernel of truth. But if it's complete hogwash, it's rolling off your back like water off a duck. So if you get slut shamed and you're bothered by it, perhaps you should ask the question, why?
Number 10, some straight up just lost interest in a relationship.
Well, back in the day, you had to be married to partake in bedroom antics. Now all it requires is 2 beers at the bowling alley and 7 to 10 minutes behind the dumbdumpster. When you give something away for free, it has no value. And once a car has had 100 drivers and all of the parts have been replaced, we call that, junk. Stop complaining when dudes don't want to buy or play with your junk.
Some guys feel that there's only loss to be had by getting into a relationship.
Gee, it's almost like you know what the problem is, but you're unwilling to do anything about it.
They feel like women only want their money or feel like there's more to be had by just keeping it at booty calls with multiple women.
Gee, I wonder what gave those men that idea. Could it be countless women on dating sites telling these men, don't bother texting me if you don't make $100,000 a year? Oh, I forgot. That can't be it because that's logic and you're not programmed for that.
They don't want families, nor do they care about anything other than themselves.
Are you sure you're talking about men here? Because I'm just asking.
It's sad, it's crappy, and it tells volumes about the current state of how many men out there think.
Wow. I'm dyslexic, and that didn't even make any sense to me. I think she needs another word and 2 commas.
One can only wonder how that will work for them 30 years from now.
It'll be just fine. And I really can't say the same about you, Screen 5.
11, men are way too entitled.
Really? God! I need to drink more for this one.
We have to dodge guys who feel entitled to bedroom action. We have to deal with men who think they deserve a supermodel when they have faces that look like feet.
All right, now, I have waited to the end of this episode to show you a picture of what this author looks like. She is the epitome of an average woman. And as a side effect, this woman has seen more rod than a Civil War musket fired in anger. But now she's steaming towards that wall. And she don't like that. She doesn't like the fact that all of those men who used to give her attention, they've moved on and disappeared. They've moved on to younger, more feminine, fertile, cooperative women. To men with options, women like this, at best, are a sport. At worst, they don't even exist in their eyes. Women like this, they're fucked by men in their 20s and time once they get to their 40s. Bummer.
We have to deal with guys who call us shallow when we reject them for not even having a job going for them. F that noise.
But men, they'll be expected to pay for everything when you show up and don't have a job.
Do you have your own spot, car, and a job? Sorry for the interrogation, lol. I'm just not into dating losers. I'm sure you can understand.
I definitely understand. And absolutely. I bought a house a while back. My dad helped me out a lot, but yeah, I have a house. I have a full-time job and 2 cars, lol. 1 for strictly work, 1 for pleasure.
Sounds like you've got it going for you.
Thanks, love. So how about you?
How about me what?
Car, crib, job?
Why would I need one? That's why I'm looking for a man to take care of me and my kids. Men are providers. Didn't your mom ever teach you? I live with my mom, I get child support, and no car yet. Problem?
Yeah. That's not gonna happen.
with the winners in the current dating pool who can blame girls for staying single.
Me, Sergeant Popp here, and I'm just saying, it's 100% your fault. Women, they are in complete control of the dating market from puberty till 35. So if you don't like how the game is rigged, blame yourself. You can try to blame us, but at the end of the day, we're the prize. And we can recognize when the game is rigged. And that really only gives us 3 choices. Number 1, men simp out and play by the rules because that's gonna lead you to true happiness. Happy wife, happy life, right? Wah, slave. Option number 2, you see that the game is rigged, so you cheat and you try to win. And I'm not gonna blame anyone for doing that, I understand. And number 3, and this one's totally provable by the marriage stat, these men are taking their chips and toys, putting them in their pockets, and they're walking for the exit, no longer playing the game. And that is the reason why you're mad, isn't it? Be honest. Because that is time, money, resources that you're never gonna get a chance at ever again. And don't blame me, honey. You're the one who started treating your downstairs mix-up like a casino. You rigged the game so the house always wins, but sooner or later, you crap out. Now, don't get me wrong. There are ladies out there that no matter how vile they are, they're still gonna win the lottery. But they are the exception and not the rule. The problem is, with today's social media, these women are idolized. These chicks all think because Rihanna can pull it off, so can they. Bitch, you're not Rihanna. Average is average because of the fact it applies to most of us. And most of us are not gonna get that Hollywood ending, period. Bottom line, Miss Teffenhart, you're not changing anyone's mind with this dribble. If you came here looking for confirmation bias, you are barking up the wrong tree. You're not gonna shame men into falling in line, especially when I still exist. And the men who do fall in line, they exist solely to be divorce rap paid. Anyone who actually believes this, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Instead, you should get fit, drink, and talk some mad shit. But if this is your strategy, you should probably quit. Because men, they don't play this, and one day, you'll be sucking on the government tit. With that being said, I'm done with you. I'll be back in a bit. Just gotta go take a shit, and then maybe I'll quit. What we are seeing now, with the marriage rates being as low as they are, we are now seeing the beginning of the reverberations of just how dire this is. And it's starting off here at the bottom, and it's starting. We're about 10% of the way. 5-10 years from now, this is going to be a huge problem, and it's going to be in the mainstream media, and they're going to be pounding the drum, boom, boom, bring back. I mean, I'm serious.